the truth of the matter, and you said it so well, Dr. Vibe, there are countless Black, African / Caribbean students, international students who are here in our cities who are struggling.
It's hard to know because we don't have like the data to say what is the state of Black health before and after. And that's something that we've been advocating for, right? We need better race-based data that's done in a way that serves us, because race-based data has been collected on different groups in ways that actually cause harm, but we need it to be done with us in a way that serves us.
What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations 2020, Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads and fathers. It's sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. And being part of that team, we've reached out directly and indirectly to over 400,000 dads, fathers, and male caregivers around the world since 2020. So I always like to say that. And as always, I like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. Let's do some house stuff. As always, please subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. I'd like to happily say that we are now past 1,500 subscribers on the YouTube channel. And a big thanks to you all for making that happen. You can also follow me on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. Also, too, if you want to advertise your business, product, or service on the platform, please feel free to reach out to me at dr.vibe at the dr, vibeshow.com. Also, too, want to say a big shout out to Indie Soup Media, which is powered by our good friend Dr. Tachi, based out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Indie Soup Media, independent content creators network that's been up since about 5 months now, has over 15,000 YouTube subscribers, and almost every conversation I host, edited versions are available on that platform. So really want to encourage you to check out my content there and other independent content creators. I'm also a member of the advisory board. Well, you know what? It has been, usually Sundays are a quiet day. Usually, and I kind of say it one more time, usually, but this Sunday is going to go down in history because Joe Biden has dropped out of the U.S. presidential race. Mm-hmm. And the funny, and I've been watching media since it happened a few hours ago. Actually, we're going to read his post on Twitter. That was at 2:13 p.m. today on July 21st. My fellow Democrats, I have decided not to accept the nomination and to focus all my energies on my duties as president for the remainder of my term. My very first decision as the party nominee in 2020 was to pick Kamala Harris, as my vice president, and it's been the best decision I've made. Today, I want to offer my full support and endorsement for Kamala to be the nominee of our party this year. Democrats, it's time to come together and beat 45. Let's do this. So, Cesar, where were you when you first heard this, and what was your immediate reaction? And maybe you've had some time to think about it deeper. Let's go.
I was actually washing my car. I'm home. I was washing my car, and how can I put it? Let's go back to 2 weeks ago when we were talking. We talked about a white gentleman, a professor who studies elections, Alan Lichtman. And he said something very interesting, which actually addresses both our main two topics in terms of the Republicans lacking principles, but the Democrats being spineless. And unfortunately, in the this summer, this has been quite a summer of politics, right? From Trump's officially becoming a felon, 34 charges, found guilty, to the assassination attempt on him. I'm not minimizing, but just as the Republicans have worked very hard to sow doubt in people's minds regarding media. I've read and seen from people, black as white, having doubts that this was a legitimate assassination attempt, uh, whatever legitimate would imply. And then today we have Joe Biden dropping out of the US presidential race. Um, what kind of message does he send? It's kind of like if you're a Republican, the fact that someone is a felon, a rapist, has declared bankruptcy 6 times, is a constant liar, aka the GLOAT, greatest liar of all time. That is not something to prevent him from becoming the nominee for your convention. But if you're a Democrat, and the Republicans like to claim being the party of law and order. What a joke since Trump has been in power. And I'm saying 2016. But in terms of the Democrats, well, if you are old, if you are sick, and especially if you have a bad debate, be careful. Your party might want to drop you out. It's kind of, and I'm not absolutely here saying, that Joe Biden should not have retired. He should not have dropped out. Everybody knows my stance in terms of U.S. politics, in terms of any Western politics. I'm a Pan-Africanist first and foremost, so I'm not here to take sides. But the truth of the matter is that here, regarding Joe Biden, I truly think it is a bad look on the Democratic Party, a look of such disunity, betrayal. I don't want to say disappointed, but you would think people such as Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Barack Obama. I didn't hear about the Clintons before, but you should have put unity behind the president, the head of your party, and let him decide on his own to drop out instead of giving this borderline Shakespearean drama. And I'm really saying Shakespearean because as he dropped out of the race, it's like he couldn't catch a break since that bad debate. From then until getting COVID, and in between, Trump basically gets his Florida document case temporarily tossed out. He basically gets all of these hypocritical Republicans coming to praise him. Meanwhile, he insulted most of them, and most of them have insulted him, and all of this is on record. It's all online. And yet you have this Democratic Party that likes to sound morally above all, respecting the rules. This is the party of Michelle Obama saying, when they go low, we aim high. I'm sorry. That is so not what was shown, So I think he did the right thing, like he said, for the party, for the nation. And it would be quite a scandal if it's not Kamala Harris, the vice president, and notably as a black woman. Joe Biden 2020's campaign was gone before black women came to support him. So whoever would want to prevent or to challenge Kamala Harris, to be the head of the Democratic ticket would be quite a fool in the age of notably identity politics on one side, which is what the Republicans will claim anyways, but also on the side of experience, expertise. She is the best person to replace Joe Biden. There is no contest to it.
So let's see. There's some other updates we can take a look at. I'm just going to go to CNN's website and just show some this, because this is breaking news and things are changing on the spot. So let's see if there's some things that maybe Cesar may want to comment about. So just give me a second here. Let's go here. So looking at so anti-abortion groups are jumping on the news that Biden has endorsed Harris. The Susan B. Anthony Pro-Life America and National Right to Life are out with statements leaving her as, quote, the quote abortion czar unquote, and they aim to mobilize their voters against her, much like when they turned out their voters against Hillary Clinton in 2016, even when they didn't vote, even when they didn't love 45. It's also an opportunity for them to argue for space in a 45 campaign that is not centered their priorities. Oh, so here she has this is Kamala Harris in the last hour, a full statement saying, on behalf of the American people, I thank Joe Biden for his extraordinary leadership as president of the United States and for decades of service to our country. His remarkable legacy of accomplishment is unmatched in modern American history, surpassing the legacy of many presidents who have served 2 terms in office. It is a profound honor to serve as his vice president. I am deeply grateful to the president, Dr. Biden, and the entire Biden family. I first came to know President Biden through his son, Beau. We were friends from our days working together at the attorneys generals in our home states. As we worked together, Beau would tell me stories about his dad, the kind father and the kind man he was. And the qualities Beau revered in his father are the same qualities, the same values I have seen every single day in Joe's leadership as president. His honesty and integrity, his big heart and commitment to his faith and his family, and his love of our country and the American people as a whole. With this selfless and patriotic act, President Biden is doing what he's done throughout his life of service, putting the American people and our country above everything else. I am honored to have had the president's endorsement, and put my intention is to earn and win this nomination. So she is in. Over the past year, I've traveled across the country talking with Americans about the clear choice in this momentous election. And that is what I will continue to do in the days and weeks ahead. I will do everything in my power to unite the Democratic Party and unite our nation, and to defeat 45 in his extreme Project 2025 agenda. We have 107 days until Election Day. Together, we will fight, and together we will win. So she is in the race.
She is in, and she should be in. There's no, it's 3.5 months left, roughly. And yet, but I mean, on a very positive thing, this changes the news, this changes the hype regarding Trump, because Trump was pretty much, I mean, and that's what Trump does, pretty much sucking out the airtime, and now it has shifted back to the Democrats, but in a positive light, instead of just negatively talking about Joe Biden health and who's going to replace him. I mean, in a way, the way the Democrats did it, however, is I would say unfortunate in the sense of quite disrespectful to senior citizens. It's not as if Joe Biden became a senior in the last year. 81 years old. Democrats knew last year. They knew at the last elections, and at the same time, let's be honest, Trump is 78. They're the same generations. This is not a matter of making it seem like Joe is old and Trump is not. But yes, there is something to the fact of Trump looking more energetic in comparison to Joe Biden. Absolutely. But he also reminds me of what I think it was Bill Clinton will say this in the 90s. Wrong. What is it again? Wrong and strong.
No.
Always better.
Okay. Yes. Strong and wrong, or weak and right.
Exactly. Strong and wrong always comes off better than weak and right. And unfortunately, this is what we have. This is what we've seen since the debate. And to be quite honest, CNN did quite a disservice to Joe Biden in that debate. But I'm saying CNN, Joe Biden's team did a disservice to Joe Biden because they agreed to the terms of the debate in which there was no fact checking on Trump at the moment. He should have been called out at the moment. Imagine the perception he would have made, notably in balancing one's visible old age in plain sight versus one's constant lies in plain sight. And when you look at now what could seem to be indeed the closure of Joe Biden's political age, the transition, the passing of the baton. Well, the truth of the matter is this: Kamala Harris, wow, she is a prosecutor who is going to challenge someone who is prosecuted. She is basically the lawmaker who is going to, I mean, I'm speaking as if we are a month from now, the Democratic National Convention in Chicago, and she has been assermented, she has been nominated. But as the most likely candidate, Kamala Harris is basically the lawmaker going against a felon. I mean, this is a woman going against a rapist. This is a black person going against the racist. I mean, the exonerated five, aka Central Park Five, that Trump was calling to basically, you know, throw them in jail and throw the key away. This N word, and I really say N word. We have black people trying to claim Trump is not racist and all that. This is so unfortunate. Sorry, go ahead, Dr. Vibe.
No, it's interesting. If it happens, could you imagine a debate between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump?
That would be a beautiful thing to watch. A man versus a woman. A white man will really represent white supremacy, white privilege. And I'm saying white privilege, let us be honest. Most white men would not be able to get away with what Trump has gotten away with. If I were to cite a modern day philosopher who, whether it's by interest or basically an opportunity to talk about himself, a modern philosopher who has apparently come out to support Trump, Curtis Jackson, aka 50 Cent. He has said it a few years ago: you wanted an entertainer president, well, you got one. And this is basically what Trump is. It's a constant clown show. And it really makes me laugh when we are seeing, and we don't have to agree, obviously, with everything the Democrats or Joe Biden or Kamala Harris stand for. This is not the question. It becomes a matter of values. And in saying values, to be honest with you, Dr. Vibe, November will actually, and I'm speaking here under the assumption that Kamala Harris will be the one to challenge Donald Trump, it will be truly less about Kamala Harris versus Donald Trump. It would be more kind of a referendum on Trump. Are you for Trump or against Trump? Because he has already been president, and he, despite his flip-flops and his attempt to be nuanced about what he stands for, and we're going to talk about it in a moment, when we look at such a thing as Project 2025, him claiming not to know anything about it, but then turns out that a lot of the people who drafted that, who wrote that 900 pages, I believe, paper, have worked in his administration. So here it becomes a matter of America further and further stepping into its decline with a new opportunity to put at the helm save democracy, as Joe Biden was saying it, or a further step towards autocratism, as Trump has shown in terms of the judges that he has selected, in terms of, I mean, you just look at that I think federal judge in Florida regarding the document case,
Eileen Cannon. Yeah.
My God, try to tell me this woman is not biased. Try to tell me this judge is not biased. She's not pro-Trump. More and more articles are clearly saying it. Her behavior and ultimately her tossing out the case is that she's basically banking on Trump winning the presidency in November, and she will get a shot at, most likely, the Supreme Court. I mean, this, and I mean, like I'm saying, I'm a Pan-Africanist. Whoever wins, Pan-Africanism wins.
Do you feel they'll nominate her as their representative in a not too congested manner?
Well, unlike the Republicans, the Democrats, in convincing themselves that they have the moral higher standards will go through the process of nomination, etc., etc. The question is, who will have the courage and borderline the audacity, allow me to correct myself, the caucasity, because it will be a white person. I don't see a black person going to challenge Kamala Harris for the position. I don't see a woman going to challenge Kamala Harris for the position. I mean, on paper and in terms of the reality on the ground, she was the VP. She has already been connected. She is the one person after Joe Biden known. I mean, who's going to come in? I mean, let's just go, let's be fantastical. Michelle Obama, Oprah, who are you going to put there? It's not realistic. Yes, I have no reason to think someone else. I mean, unless the Democrats are truly trying to sabotage the possibility of winning.
I think that if the Democrats, they got to think about win. That's what the Republicans do. They think about who's the best, not maybe the best person, but the best person to win.
And that's why they come in, they fold. That's why you see the Marco Rubio, the Ted Cruz, and the Mitch McConnell. I mean, did he insult my wife? Hey, it's okay. Party first. Let me be a hypocrite.
So then my second part, and I just want to chat here, Dr. Tachi, good to have you here. We talked about this podcast being on Indie Soup Media. You live in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I would love to get your live response to Joe Biden calling it quits and Kamala Harris saying no. And plus, sometime I usually host a great conversation on Saturdays called Prime Time with Aisha and Lala. We usually hold it on Saturday. America, let alone were they ready for a black man as a president? Are they ready for a black woman as a president?
Dr. Vibe, let us get controversial here. You're talking about a black woman. Okay. There are people who hated Obama, not because he did anything wrong in terms of his policies. Let's be honest, many of the people who voted for Trump because they couldn't swallow the fact of having the black president. Meanwhile, they did benefit from Obama's policies, notably regarding poor people, notably regarding healthcare, Obamacare, and yet the fact of a black president, no, that was too much. With Kamala Harris, let us dare to get controversial here. Let's do opposite to Michelle Obama. Let us go low. She's black. She's a woman. Her husband is white. Her husband is Jewish. And she doesn't have kids. Identity markers, there are people for each one of them, and you combine the intersectionality of them, there are people who will not vote for her simply because of who and what she is. That's it, that's all. Is America ready for it? America was not ready for Barack Obama. But the George Bush presidency was, at the end of it, and in the context of the subprime and economic crisis then, made it that Obama was able to win. And here we see the same case here when indeed Kamala Harris could win. And again, we are speaking with the assumption that she would be the nominee. Because as I said earlier, these POTUS, President of the United States elections, are less about Kamala Harris or whoever Democrat versus Trump. It really becomes a question for Americans. Do you want to go back to the presidency as Trump, 2016 to 2020, considering also everything that has been revealed? Just look at how he became charged as a felon. The crime was never the fact.
But do a lot of Americans care about that?
Actually, they do. No. I used to think, no, Americans don't care. No, they do care. But the question is not so much that you care. The question is, between you caring and you going to the election booth, what happens? And this is where, example, as we're speaking about Americans, white evangelical Christians are among the biggest hypocrites in America right now.
You're
Oh,
going there. You're going there.
I absolutely say it, and I truly speak of it. And allow me to give a shout out to Brother Malachi Johnson, Life Coach Malachi. You can follow him on Life Coach Malachi. You can follow him on YouTube and Facebook. When we did have a conversation, and Dr. Vibe, thank you. You did promote that event. When he did interview me on religious trauma. White evangelical Christians are a big problem in America because they're literally, and yes, there are black evangelical Christians. That's not the question here, but they overwhelmingly vote Democrat. But white evangelical Christians vote Republicans overwhelmingly, convince themselves to vote for a man such as Trump, who is literally a contradiction of everything they claim to stand about. An unfaithful man who is an unfaithful man to his pregnant wife with a sex worker, a fraudster who has ripped off notably poor people, Trump University and other initiatives, the Trump Bible, a man who has no hesitation having a language that even at the convention he said himself, I was told not to use profanities.
Hello, everybody. My name is Paige. I am a marketing consultant and the host of More Than a Mom, the podcast. I am here at the Soundwave Summit, and I had the pleasure of speaking with Dr. Vibe, and the gems he dropped were unmatched. An accidental conversation really changed my whole plan. And if I had him 3 years ago when I started my consulting career, it would have made a major change. The biggest thing that I learned that I'm taking with me is understanding that I do not have a show, I have a solution. And I think that's something that's not talked about enough. Another thing that really adjusted my mindset was the power of positive language. I was telling him about some of my problems are asking for help. I'm always pouring into other people, but it's hard, and it's a problem that I can't get that same thing in return. And he said, it's not a problem. It's something that, what did you say? Not a problem. You said, oh, it's a challenge. It's something that's a challenge for me. And that simple adjustment of language, I went away to lunch and I called 4 people and I'm like, hey friends, we need to change our energy. We need to change our outlook. We are solution-driven people. We do not need to do things the way society tells us to do things. This checklist that we feel like we need to fall under, this 10-minute conversation we had, it changed up everything. So I'm so thankful for the gems. I feel like I'm going to go back and make a whole new to-do list that's based on how I need to do things, a different way of looking at things, and I'm just so thankful. So thank you, Dr. Vibe.
Okay, let's get to our other conversation topic today. Cesar has jumped back and forth, He can go all in now. 45 from the assassination attempt to the Republican National Convention and Project 2025. Go for it.
Well, let's start on a light note. First of all, an assassination attempt is nothing to make fun of. It's nothing to take lightly. I absolutely do understand people, notably, let's say, anti-Trump people who are suspicious of whether it was a true assassination attempt. Don't get me wrong. The Republicans and notably Trump have worked so well for many years to sow doubt into anything reported by the media. It's only fair that they get that kind of logic thrown back at them. However,
can I just interrupt before you go any further? Now, they are the same people who thought January 6th was nothing. Right? So, but you're not hearing anything, and I'm just playing both sides of the fence here.
There you go.
There are many people of the Republic said, "Oh, that wasn't harm." No, they were okay.
So they become complicit in the fact of many people who don't believe this assassination attempt was real. Now, in terms of the convention, it's important to mention Donald Trump and the Republicans, they might owe some copyrights to Nelly, Remember how back in the early 2000s, Nelly always had that band-aid, and now you have some people at the Republican convention having the gauze to the ear. Like,
I'm sorry, but that's cult thing. That's a cult.
it's a cult. I was laughing when I saw that, and it's like, uh, solidarity to the dear leader. We sympathize with you. We come in, but let's face it, Christians were the cross. So, no, it's a cult thing. Basically, what you see at the convention, there are so many elements to talk about. I mean, I'm just gonna, I'm not even saying them in priority, but what was Amber Rose doing there? Amber Rose, oh man. When a friend sent me the video of her speech, I stopped at do your research. I was like, okay, enough. And then I find out Amber Rose apparently is involved in some scams involving crypto money. And basically, there is this video of a white woman debunking Amber Rose's presence in terms of her basically hoping Trump becomes president in order to avoid the prosecution that would send her to jail for some serious scamming of people. When you look at other people being the hypocrisy of not only the Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz and Mitch McConnell, I mean, you literally are there shaking the hands of a man who very publicly, this is not it's small circles, very publicly insulted your wife, insulted your family, insulted your roots. Uh, you know, Republicans lack principles. The so-called party of law, order, and God, they lack principles. They have no principles. They don't care. It's about power. And with a man like Trump, I mean, if you really read it, Trump would fit. And everybody knows my positions on religion in the black community. But here among whites, Trump basically would fit in very well with the notion of the Antichrist, in terms of the values that he projects, the type of person that he is. But ultimately, he's vice president select J.D. Vance. Literally, you have the screenshots of him criticizing Donald Trump a few years ago, talking about a man of such bad character. And here he's now buddy with Trump. He loves the family. He's such a great man. And yet, I saw this video of a white man. I'm really liking these white people coming out and calling out their own. This white man who made a video saying, "J.D. Vance, be careful. They see your wife is Hindu," and he really when his wife talked, he really said, Hindu.
Okay, so this I wanted to bring up too. It came up in primetime last night with Lala. His wife is Hindu.
Practicing Hindu, and they really made sure to put it at the convention in case you're wondering. I was like,
now, how does the party accept that? How does 40? Well, but okay, now this again, political divide in the United States. I'm sure that South Asians don't align themselves. They think themselves more white than non-white.
Many, not all. I mean, we're talking South Asian. We're talking
but white.
Indian.
But a lot of the white men in power will still consider them not white.
But absolutely, when she was talking, it was quite. I mean, to what extent are people sincere when they're talking and the passion? She didn't look like she believed what she was saying. I mean, sure, she loves her husband. That's not what I'm criticizing. I'm talking the part of the political aspect. She literally was there talking to a crowd of people who are applauding her as the wife of J.D. Vance, while at the same time, in the mindset and the politics, they're looking at people who look like her and saying, "Go back to the country where you come from, America first." Because when they're saying America first, when they're saying stop abortion, they don't care about brown people. They're like, go back to your country. This is really what it's about. So you literally have this white man in his video talked about how J.D. Vance is actually an atheist. He's not a true Christian. He's a convenient Christian. He has an Indian brown wife and he has biracial mixed children. Look at the crowd. Look at the videos of the crowd. How diverse was it? It was like a blonde hair everywhere, and it was so what homogeneously white. It was so homogeneously white. This is not the party of diversity. Of course, you will have the sell out to the black cause, such as Tim Scott, who will make such a ah, such a coonish speech claiming there's no racism in America. Of course, he has no choice but to say that. And we have such politicians as well here in Canada who will deny black politicians who will deny the existence of systemic racism because of their own interests. But the facts, the studies, the reports are adamant.
I want to bring another part up of the convention that I found interesting. I want to get your take on this. All right. Vivek Ramaswamy saying this at the convention, quote, our message to Black Americans is this. The media has tried to convince you for decades that Republicans don't care about your neighborhoods, but we do. Quote, we want for you what we want for every American: safe neighborhoods, clean streets, good jobs, a better life for your children, and a justice system that treats everyone equally, regardless of your skin color and regardless of your political beliefs.
Yeah, Donald Trump. this is the guy who wouldn't even challenge. This is the guy who literally came in there for he wasn't even caring for the Republican nomination. I watched the debate and I started following him on Twitter. Vivek is like, he saw an opportunity to become nationally famous. I mean, he was attacking the other white woman who is actually Indian, aka Nikki Haley.
I want you to comment on what her performance at the convention.
Oh, they're all hypocrites, but it's okay. I mean, when I say it's okay, it's that's how Republicans do politics. I'm not saying Democrats don't have hypocrisy among them, but it's kind of like Republicans are openly racist out of the closet. Democrats, many of them, not all, of course, but many of them are racist, but in the closet. No, Nikki Haley was a pure hypocrite. I mean, someone said it, an analyst said it, where you gotta be the contrast of people as Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz is that you got to go back to 2015, 2016 to hear what they said about Trump. They were speaking truthfully on the views of Trump. Really? What's his name? Oh my God, DeSantis, Ron DeSantis, DeSantis. You just go back a few months. Trump is unfit to rule. All the drama, and here they are praising the great leader, showering him with honest. How can Trump respect such people? He can't respect them. Put yourself in Trump's shoes. He knows who they are. He knows the character. He's rightfully condescending and mocking to them. And as such, yes, he would want a VP such as Mike Pence, such as JD Vance.
Well, now, interesting enough, I heard that Mike Pence was not even at the convention.
Oh, but of course, and not invited because, of course, he dared to stand up and not participate in the coup d'etat. In the coup d'etat in 2020, he refused to follow the orders of the great leader. And, you basically have your convention where people coming to praise the love and Hulk Hogan will basically, I mean, Hogan is a racist. How many cases do we need of black women, coming or whatever recorded leaks? Even though we may have black wrestlers come and say, no, he's not racist. Listen, we have far too many black people, and I can include here people such as Mike Tyson and, how do you call 50 Cent, saying that they stand with Trump and this and that. It's a matter of values. It's basically people Whether we're talking about the elections, but we're also talking about the workplace. We're talking about the family, in your homes, in your circle of friends. Would you want to associate yourself with? Progressive, more inclusive, addressing issues of diversity and equality in our society, in our changing societies, or you want to be conservative, aka going back in time to before 1960s, before the civil rights for black people, before the second movement of feminism and sexual liberation, before LGBTQ advocacy, and even because we're having someone like JD Vance talking about the white collar. The man is a millionaire. The man went to Yale. He does not speak representing the average white person who was struggling to pay the bills. That is not his reality. I even read that it's a lie, the story about his mother being a drug addict. Yes, she was, but not a drug addict out of poverty. An RN, a registered nurse, will become addicted to medication within the hospital context. I do not know. I'm saying very honestly, these are things that I discovered online as I'm educating myself further on this. But ultimately, it's a matter of value. And this is why we see on the Republican side so many of them flip flopping. Amber Rose slut walk. Amber Rose will basically has publicly her sexual practices with Kanye West. Amber Rose, shaved head, single mom, tattooed, etc., etc. And she's speaking at the Republican convention of people talking about the flag, God, and America first. Many of these Republicans will basically look up who she is and they'll be like, how did we dare having this N-word woman in our convention?
I would have, it's a good point. I would have loved to have gone around in the audience and asked people at that convention what
You know her.
People, well, if they know, and they because something tells me they didn't even care about that.
Listen, there are journalists who actually did inquire on people in Milwaukee, just as I think it's this weekend, Grand Rapids, where they were going to have their first event together, Trump event. They were asking people, do you know JD Vance? And people were admitting, no, I don't know him. But if Trump supports him, I support him. JD Vance, the great leader says, vote for this guy, they'll vote for him. Listen, America has been through this before. McCarthyism in the 50s, and I always forget the name, but people, please look it up. There was a Catholic priest in the time of the Great Depression. Father, people, please look it up. I forget his name. There was a Catholic priest who was very populist, and he got to a point where the Catholic priest got rejected even by the church because eventually he crossed too many lines. McCarthy eventually got rejected by the Republicans because he crossed too many lines. Here we have someone such as Donald Trump, but it's no longer the Republican Party. He has overtaken it. However, it's important to say there are Republicans who are pushing against Trump. There are not just Nikki Haley voters, but there are dedicated Republicans who will swallow the pill and say Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, whoever is a Democratic candidate, is the lesser of evil versus Trump. Meanwhile, notably here in Canada, and allow me to share this, just as our brother, our Pan-Africanist brother, Dr. Umar Johnson was saying, how do you rationally explain that you have black people who are cheering and supporting Trump? How do you rationally explain that there are Arabs who are supporting Trump, Latinos for Trump? This is cognitive dissonance. This is, hey, please, did you say you're going to kick me out of the country? You sound like my pick.
So just to catch up on a Minion Cam says, blank walk happened because the police said to women to avoid rape, don't ask for it. Amber Rose twisted it for her platform. The core of the blank walk is to end gender violence. and rape culture, including victim blaming and blank shaming of sexual assault victims. Participants protest against explaining or excusing rape by referring to any aspect of a woman's appearance.
And meanwhile, Amber Rose goes there to support a man on record who talked about grabbing them by the, everybody knows, a man who has been uh, convicted of sexual assault slash rape,
Yes, yes,
a
yes.
man who has a history of denigrating comments towards women, including his own daughter, Ivanka, in terms of the language quite unfit of a father to his daughter that is quite suspicious. People like Amber Rose. All the people who were there, and I'm even skipping all the lies that were said, all the exaggeration, but it's like a cult. They have the masses of people now with someone like Kamala Harris, and I'm kind of flip flopping between topics, but with someone like Kamala Harris, it's important to understand Donald Trump taking JD Vance as his VP. So this guy is very right wing. The whole Project 2025, kind of reminiscing of, as my daughter was about to be born in 2021, I wanted to brush up on my gender studies from university, and, having delivered conferences on women's rights and, sexism and misogyny. I'm like, let's make sure that we are current. And I watched, I think I shared this before with you, Dr. Vibe. I watched this TV show, The Handmaid's Tale. Project 2025 is bringing us many steps closer. With already, as Dr. Umar Johnson said, many elements already being in place, including a corrupt Supreme Court, including a certain Judge Clarence Thomas, aka he's there to go back on abortion rights. Let us go back on interracial marriage and see what he will do regarding his white wife. Let us dare to have that conversation, because white supremacist Project 2025, and I'm seeing some blacks. Apparently, it is estimated that 13% black men might vote for Trump because of the disenchantment regarding Biden and the economy, etc. But also for others, opposition to LGBTQ rights and DEI, etc. I don't think people grasp, and again, I'm not a Democrat. I don't partake in the left-right dynamics of Western politics. I'm a Pan-Africanist. But the worst fate for my black people, America will be like any other empire. It will fall, it will crumble. Absolutely. But in terms of my black people, this is the Republican Party that has a long history of anti-blackness. And please, I already see some people who are going to come claim Lincoln was a Republican. This Republican Party, Republicans and Democrats pretty much switched on the race question in the 60s. We could truly say in the 50s, in the 40s and 50s, FDR, Eisenhower, JFK. This is when the switch in terms of racial dynamics really happened, from desegregation in the army in the context of World War II, the 1950s and beginning of civil rights with Ike, Eisenhower, and truthfully, MLK, JFK, RFK, Robert Kennedy, not the lunatic that was trying to be elected. But have to look at it, the reality for our black people, and notably as there's, talking about police immunity. Let's be honest. A year before George Floyd happened, a black cop had killed a white woman. There was no doubt that he would get prison sentence. This notion of police immunity, again, is on white cops killing non-white people, especially black people. It's notably to refrain from protests such as happened in the context of Black Lives Matter. And it's notably, and black people have to remember this, in preventing the rise of the Black Messiah, the next Fred Hampton, the next Stokely Carmichael, the next Louis, the next MLK, the next Malcolm X. Black activists are very scary to white supremacists.
Well, I think that is it for today's conversation, but I know there are two other things that quickly that
Oh, yeah, very quickly, very, very quickly. I just wanted to awaken, I mean, for those who do not know Black people, some this content regarding racism in football. As you know, football is my favorite sport. Hala Madrid, Real Madrid, but Argentina is the only country of the Americas that don't have a single visible Black player on the football team. The only country, competition after competition. So every 2 years, you get the Copa America, then you get the World Cup. Argentina has a long history of racism. Black people, read up on the fate of Afro Argentines, the terrible killing slash genocide that has happened to them, the basically being pushed away from Argentina in order to create a white nation. And this was an official policy. But don't just look at Argentina. This was a policy from Canada to Brazil to whiten the nation, basically bringing more white migrants from Europe compared to the indigenous and the blacks, aka descendants of African slavery. Argentina, a nation where most are descendants of Italy and Germany as well. But here, the racism that they claim on basically singing about French players, there is a truth to it. So many of the French players, you look at the photo, well, they're actually Africans. So, yes, they play for France because they're born there. But let us have the conversation on developing African nations so that these people can, yes, get training in Europe, but play for the national countries, such as Sadio Mane did, Didier Drogba, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. Those who follow football know those names. And the notion of police use of force on blacks in Ottawa, Dr. Vibe, if you can maybe share the article that I sent you, on which I was interviewed just this week on Radio Canada, aka French CBC. Ottawa police released the report on the use of force from the police officers, and basically, can you share the article? I just want to show the part where, with my photo, Black people will only represent 8% of the citizens of Ottawa, the capital of Canada, are 26% the ones who are victims of the use of force. The highest group, 3.3 times more than the representation. Very disproportionate. And you compare that to indigenous people, you compare that with Arabic slash Middle Eastern people, but you also compare that with notably, yes, if we can go down the part, I'm going to read the part where my photo is. You compare that with basically, yes, just above that, please. I can read exactly what I wrote. You basically here, what I basically address is on one side, yes. Oh, this is, yes. Okay, this is in English actually. Uh, um, on one side, as good as it is that article that police submit reports regarding the use of force, things are not changing, and we have to recognize documents after documents, reports after reports. It's not just systemic racism, it's also white privilege, because the very reports of police indicate the only racial group that is not disproportionately victim of use of force are white people. So white people are the only groups that are not disproportionately affected by the use of force. Black people are the group that is the most disproportionately impacted. Black consciousness Black activism and truly Black life is to be aware, is to stand up, is to basically come together to create. And I say it, I sound redundant. We say it on every show. We have said it already today. Dr. Vibe has said it. We need to construct stronger families in order to create stronger communities. And this has nothing to do with being Republican or Democrat, conservative or liberal, dark skin, light skin, African, Caribbean, Christian, Muslim, or spiritual, or etc. In the reality of the world that we live in, we are seen and judged first and foremost through our skin. People will say character and this and that. They lie. They lie to your face because they know full well. They know full well. Judge first and foremost for being Black.
All right, family, we are done. What an epic conversation, but hey, that's just par for the course. That's what we do here. So let me just get something going here. There we go. We'll put it at the bottom. So a few things before we exit today. First things first, subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. And continue. So next level is 1,600 subscribers. We just passed 1,500. 1,600 is next. Also subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram to advertise your business, product, or service on any of the platforms I'm a part of. Please feel free to email me, dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. If you want to get in touch with me, website, the drvibeshow.com, YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, the Dr. Vibe Show, X/Twitter at drvibeshow, and email. Instagram at the drvibeshow, and finally, email dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. If you want to catch replays of this epic conversation, you can. You can catch them at the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, and at the website, the drvibeshow.com, and also edited versions of this program. If you want to catch them, they are at indiesoupmedia.tv. Let me put that right there. Okay? So, as always, this is how we close out our conversations. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions, then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Remember to give yourself grace and don't just manage your time, manage your energy. God bless. Peace to all. Keep faith, keep the faith, and walk good. Let me just say, don't just manage your time, manage your energy, and remember to give yourself grace. God bless. Peace to all. Keep the faith and walk good.